I'm back, beaches.
Back beaches.
I'm back, beaches.
Back beaches.
I'm back, beaches.
Back beaches.
Hey everyone, I just wanted to get another update out as I continue on my journey of recovery after surgery. I've had so many lovely comments and well wishes after posting the last couple of updates, so I thought it'd be good to get one final personal update as I get back to some form of normality. So in my first personal update, I covered the reasons I was having to take some time out to focus on my personal recovery, and then the update in August really covered my time in hospital, having the rib removed and the exploratory work and getting home. And at that point, my recovery had only just begun. It was now time for the hard yards, weaning myself off strong drugs and trying to look competent whilst working from home. So as if you didn't know already, I'm your host Will Green, with one less rib and slightly fewer brain cells at the moment, let's be honest. So buckle up, or should I say rib up? I'll try and at least make this somewhat fun. Okay, so going back to that time in hospital, I felt awful, vulnerable and all the rest. But as I said, the NHS staff were amazing and they're there on hand, so I guess you have that kind of certain safety net. If you need a dose of drugs, it's there. If you're worried about something, the staff are there to answer all the questions. I was aware that I had this cocktail of drugs in my system, but I also didn't have to worry about taking care of anything. All my responsibilities had been taken away. I didn't even have to take care of some of the basics for myself. So of course, in the last episode, Lucy and I were joking around how I was discharged, with nurse bully and all that. But the reality is that it's quite strange, maybe a bit of a disconcerting experience. Suddenly, when you're at home, you don't have nurses on hand, and you have to request drugs through your doctor via a pharmacy, so instead of getting drugs in minutes, it takes days. And then suddenly, instead of being looked after by the NHS, you're relying on your family, and it feels like a big burden to be putting on them. For me, some of the drugs that barely touched the sides were having a different effect at home, and I was feeling the after effects of the general anaesthetic. I would say that in hospital, sometimes physically I was feeling great. I mean, morphine is around, it really does work. But then you try and move and you realise, oh yeah, I'm missing a rib, this hurts. This really, really hurts. And the weird thing with having a rib taken out is that all the nerves make you feel like you're getting pain in all sorts of other areas in your torso. It's something called deferred pain. And for me, getting home coincided with nerve pain, which manifested itself as a kind of spasm, particularly when I was trying to lie down. And that kept me awake all night, every night. I just couldn't get comfortable, and none of the drugs were helping. So I had to contact the doctors, and I was prescribed something called Amitriptyline hydrochloride to take alongside my beloved dihydrocodeine. So fast forward to a week after the surgery, I was starting to get into the routine of taking the prescription drugs, dihydrocodeine and amitriptyline hydrochloride. This was getting the pain under control, including that horrible nerve twitching pain that I was getting, but the side effects were mounting up and causing all sorts of other issues. So, in case you're not a doctor, the side effects of dihydrocodeine include constipation, dry mouth, headaches, sickness, drowsiness, and dizziness. A cluster of unfortunate but necessary evils giving the need to reduce the pain. The problem is that amitriptyline hydrocodone also causes constipation, dry mouth, headaches, sickness, drowsiness, and dizziness. So it's like a double dose of all of the above. But the amitriptyline takes drowsiness to new levels, and it adds in weakness or tiredness and nightmares. The absolute fucking irony of being able to sleep because of a medical intervention that gives you nightmares is not lost on me, I promise you. And amitriptyline has a really, really strong effect on me on the drowsiness front. The first time I took it, it wiped me out. I was playing with my son Rocco in the lounge, but I went completely vacant. I was in the room, but also I wasn't in the room. In my head, I just went a bit floaty and distant. But from my wife Lucy's perspective, she looked in on us and I was propped up with my eyes rolling backwards in my head. I'm lucky I didn't traumatise the boy. So although the drugs really help with the pain, you're always conscious that you need to cut down as soon as possible. Amitriptyline was sedating me for about 12 hours a day, and I'm not the being sedated kind of guy. So that's where the fun begins. I discovered there are only two speeds while coming off pain meds. You're either a sloth who's forgotten how to operate a spoon, or you're a hyperactive squirrel on 6 cups of coffee who thinks reorganising your sock drawer at 3 AM is a great idea. It's crazy how much these drugs affect your whole system. They're powerful. So after again speaking to the doctors, I started to reduce the doses of both these drugs and transition onto my old friend cocodamol. I basically decided to take on a bit more pain in order to operate a bit more as a human, and I started to come back down to reality. I feel like I might have skipped ahead a little bit here because there are a few other things that happened along that journey. And the absolute worst thing that I had to do, I think 2 or 3 days after getting home from the hospital, was take off the dressings. Oh my god, it was nasty. My bandages consisted of some sort of gauze with various tapes and an overall protective film. I'd been given some sort of saline solution in a little syringe to help with this process, but it still makes my skin crawl thinking back. I didn't want to go it alone, so I documented the whole process, sending my work buddies Tyler and Chris videos as I went along. I don't know that they necessarily appreciated that, but I just thought it'd be nice to include them. So to set the scene, you've just braved some massive surgery. You've got all this stuff over the wound, meaning you've never actually seen it before. So you almost feel like it's holding you together like a patch on a teddy, and you think, okay, I survived that operation. How hard can it be taking off some bandages? Oh, sweet, naive me. You pull up a corner of the bandage, feeling brave, only to realise that the thing is basically cemented to your skin like it's auditioning to be a permanent part of your body. And it's not just your skin, it's decided to bond with the actual wound. Yes, that's right. The bandage and your stitches have become best friends. They're going through thick and thin together, literally. Your body is trying to make a scab, but the gauze is there, so the body thinks, fuck it, that gauze is going to be part of the scab, let's grow through it. So now you're playing this strange game of, is this the bandage or is this my flesh? And as you peel it back, it's like the bandage is shouting, I'm taking you with me. At this point, panic sets in because you're not even sure which side is winning this tug of war, you or the bandage. But wait, here comes the magic elixir, saline solution. In theory, it's supposed to help gently loosen the bandage from your wound, but the act of squirting it is actually tear-jerking in itself. Don't forget to breathe, William. You squirt it on, thinking it'll work like a charm. Instead, the bandage soaks it up and it holds on even tighter, and now it's heavier. At this point, the earliest bits of panic start to set in. Like, should I have waited longer? Am I going to need to walk to the doctors to get them to help take this off? I squirt a little bit more of saline solution, seeing it going down, thinking, have I actually got enough of this stuff? Then you wait a few seconds and then start tugging again. This time the bandage sort of comes loose, but it feels like peeling a sticker off without leaving the goo behind. So you're wiggling at it, trying not to scream, and somewhere in the back of your mind you're thinking, is this bandage secretly laughing at me? Finally, after what feels like hours of delicate, awkward pulling and endless squirting of saline, the bandage releases its death grip. That relief is something else, trust me. You're left standing there like a surgeon who just completed a marathon surgery. You've done it, the bandage is off, you're free. But now, you're eyeing the next bandage. And this bit was one where the steri strip's covering the hole that my drain went in, and I had hardly any saline left. Luckily, that one was just a waiting game. I had to just soak it in saline and give it a little wiggle. Eventually it all came off. Then you're sat there staring in the mirror at this new scar that you've got, and this scar is a whopper. So I was looking at it thinking, wow, much bigger than I expected. And all of that experience followed by the first shower was probably the worst bit, to be honest. And then after all that, it was really time to start thinking about how I was going to transition back to work. So on returning to work, I have to say my colleagues have all been amazing. From covering me while I'm away just to generally offering some sort of moral support, they are a great bunch. So they made it really easy for me as I started to get back into the flow of work. I can't remember it that well now, but it's a weird thing really to suddenly decide, you know what, it's time to get back to work, I'm in work. And as a sales and marketing director, there's so much different things that you get involved in. You know, managing a team, strategizing campaigns, and talking to clients and stuff. So all from the comfort of my home whilst cradling this missing rib and taking enough drugs to sedate a small elephant. So there I was, dazed and confused and creeping back to normality. What could possibly go wrong? Well, actually, nothing. Nothing really went wrong. I slowly transitioned back to full-time work. The operation, the recovery is all in the past, and I'm now part of an elite club of ribless people who get to make Adam and Eve jokes at cocktail parties, and I have a scar that I can make up fake pirate stories about, or that I was attacked by a dinosaur. It all kind of ends up feeling a little bit like an anticlimax though, to be honest. I don't feel physically any different. I still have the pain there to an extent, and it could take up to 6 months to see if this operation is effective, and the real test will be to see if the pneumonia comes back. So here I go, I'm getting back to it. At the end of the day, transitioning back to work while recovering from surgery is like a bit of an unknown quantity. It's a balancing act between being a professional adult and, well, a person who's missing a rib and occasionally hallucinates about spreadsheets. I'm getting to grips with taking my 35 kilogram muscle beast of a dog for a walk. She doesn't seem to get that I've just had surgery. And playing with my 3-year-old, he also doesn't really seem to get that I had surgery. I think it's quite surreal for him. He likes to pretend he's a doctor and try and put stickers on my scar, but that's still a step too far for me. I still wake up every morning and have that couple of seconds before the pain sets in, just enough to think, is this the first day I don't wake up with pain? Before the pain really sets in. So, I guess that's something to look forward to. But you know what? If you need a bit of inspiration, if you're going through something like this yourself, it's really amazing how resilient the body is. So I guess here's to the strange, surreal world of post-surgery life. Here's to getting back to work, getting back to Marketing Made Clear, and a massive thank you to all my friends and family for all the support. I'm a lucky guy to have you all. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, stay ribless and fabulous.